And as Martin said, I am very grateful to transition us into the second part of this gathering, CBR Canada Awards celebration. And you can see the map of 2022 award nominees. So this year we received a lot and fantastic, outstanding nominations for both awards, for emerging community-based researcher and excellent in community research, community campus research partnerships. It was nearly not possible to choose only one award for each category, and the adjudication committee has a lot of trouble to come up with the final winners. So I would like to say congratulations to all the nominees. And very much would like you to take some time to learn more about each of these projects and each of these outstanding researchers, and use this map. And there will be, Sonia is dropping the link to the map, and this map is very interactive, so there is a lot of information related to each of the nominees. And we will hear more about them, and we will hear more from them and during the upcoming webinars, community of practice, and our newsletters.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody for the panel discussion. And Martin, what a great job of leading us through the discussion. Jude, you mentioned one word that really jumps out at me, and that's activism. And you mentioned the Master of Activism program you were talking about. A question I'm always asking myself: what more could I do around activism if I wasn't connected to a post-secondary institution? For me, it's just a really interesting personal question. Bernie, your activism and your shirt reminds me that it is possible to live in both spaces. So anyway, so for this year's awards, as Joanna said, that we have so many great applications, and it actually, just the application process is in and itself a celebration, at least for us who get to read them, of all the great work that is happening. So because we have so many great applications this year's, we decided to add not only the awards, but for the first time to grant 2 honorable mentions in both of the categories: remarkable emerging researchers and excellent research projects. So it's my great pleasure to recognize and acknowledge the work of Carrie Martin as emerging community-based researcher of 2022, and the researchers in residence program at TRU, Thompson Rivers University, and the City of Kamloops as 2022 Community Campus Research Partnerships. Carrie, Indigenous investigator, research coordinator, PhD student at Concordia University, works in knowledge mobilization and HIV clinical trials networks community advisory member, and an advocate for Indigenous women living with HIV from communities, alliances, and networks, which stands for CAN in short form. So congratulations to you, Carrie, on the honorable mention among many great nominations. And in terms of the work at TRU in the City of Kamloops, it just feels like a really good scaffolding platform to support really great projects between TRU and the community of Kamloops and surrounding areas. So it's an innovative partnership and effective infrastructure facilitating impactful community-based research opportunities. So please check out the chat for links to a video on this exciting partnership that is happening here in British Columbia.
Thank you, Steve. This is excellent, and congratulations to both honorable mentions. And I think it is my pleasure right now to announce the 2022 Emerging Community-Based Researcher Award recipient. So this year's We Are Canada's award goes to Melissa Tremblay from University of Alberta. Bravo! So to introduce our award recipient, I would like to welcome Angela Campbell, who is the Executive Director of the Northwest Central Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Network. Angela is also an educator. She is a trainer and mom of 2 daughters. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I am absolutely honored to be here, coming to you from Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 territory, St. Albert, Alberta. I have had the pleasure of working with Melissa since about 2017. Actually, no, prior to that, I got trained by her in a previous job. So, but our actual working relationship started with our InReach project, which has us going into justice facilities in Edmonton, working directly with the staff and with residents with possible or diagnosed fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Many of you probably already know that there is a large percentage of the population in our criminal justice system who have the disability FASD. And we absolutely don't believe people should be criminalized and put away because of a disability. So we are in there actively bringing awareness and prevention and doing supports and services. We started this in 2017, and we realized very quickly that if we wanted to sustain this wonderful program that really became successful overnight and expanded dramatically, we would need to have evaluations, evidence-based information to go along with future funding requests. Lo and behold, I reached out to Melissa because I have seen such wonderful work that she's done before. And I can't express how excited I was that she was able to come on board. She has just a compassion that comes along with evaluators and researchers. I don't have a lot of experience with them. I always kind of figured they were facts and figures kind of people. So I was so pleasantly surprised when Melissa was so compassionate, so understanding. The questions that she came up with for surveys were so well formed. She knew instinctually that questions to clients needed to be simplified, make accommodations for, because these are people with a disability, but also being very sensitive to justice facility staff. I mean, they're not always get the respect and appreciation they often deserve. So honestly, their backs go up quite easily when people start asking questions or invading their space. She was very, very understanding and accommodating of that. Absolutely community-based, our project was, and the evaluation that Melissa did for us also was. We reached out to stakeholders from all levels, funders, government, and of course, clients and justice facility staff, my contract staff. It was very well-rounded, so much so that we did the 3-year evaluation, and now I'm asking Melissa to follow up with another one, because excitingly enough, now that we've been going on for as long as we have, we can start doing some long-term studies, such as recidivism rates and the impact that we've maybe been able to have on the prevention of future births with alcohol related issues. So I'm so excited, and Melissa has gone above and beyond in other things besides this particular project, helping with reviewing documents, helping me with grant proposals. So again, can't thank her enough, and I am so happy for her, and well-deserved. Way to go, Melissa.
Thank you very much, Angela. We'll hear right now from Melissa.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there is a slide presentation that, okay. So thank you so much for taking the time to tune in today. I'm truly honored and grateful to be accepting this award, and grateful to my former doctoral supervisor and now colleague, Dr. Rebecca Gokert, for nominating me. Dr. Gokert has been an absolute gift to me as a mentor, as well as the community partners who so graciously supported my nomination. So thank you, Angela, for the incredibly kind introduction. Thank you also to Elder Sean for starting us off in such a good way and for the inspiring panelists who shared their wisdom with us today. I'm also really proud to accept this award alongside the Partnership Award recipient from Maskwacis, many of whom I have the pleasure of knowing and working with. I'm going to try to talk a bit louder because I see in the chat someone mentioned that it's hard to hear. So I wanted to take this opportunity to begin with a land acknowledgement. On this slide is a picture of a lake that's about 10 minutes away from my house. And it's on land like this that I'm reminded of how grateful I am to call this land my home. So I'll acknowledge that I'm coming to you today, like Angela, from Treaty 6 territory. And this is a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many others. And these are not just words that are spoken at the beginning of a presentation or a meeting, but a representation of a commitment to honoring and reflecting on the relationship that I and my research have to treaties, the land and its gifts, as well as the Indigenous peoples who continue to enrich our communities. So my acknowledgement is not only in respectful recognition of these lands, along with my past, current, and future ancestors of these lands, but also in recognition that I and my colleagues have a collective responsibility toward taking concrete actions toward uplifting the connections we have with all of our relations. And it's through research that I aim to take some of these concrete actions. Next slide, please. So just briefly, I'll introduce myself. I love images, so I wanted to offer a couple of images that kind of describe who I am. So the bottom picture is a Métis sash. I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Alberta, and my family has deep roots in Alberta, in the Lac St. Anne area west of Edmonton. At the top is a picture of the building where I work, or at least where I spent time working prior to COVID. So that's the Faculty of Education at the University of Alberta. So I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Educational Psychology and a registered psychologist. And then third, I want to emphasize that the work I do really requires placing value on meaningful and potentially transformative relationships. Next slide. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to speak to my research. I'll just share snapshots of 3 projects in particular that stand out as being community grounded and having unique knowledge mobilization pieces. So all of the research that I do is community-based and participatory. So I owe my ability to do this work to all of the incredible partners who trust me enough to be able to work in relationship with me and take the research journey with them. One of the projects I've carried out that I'm most proud of is a Photovoice project in partnership with youth and elders from the Maskwacis community, which is a First Nations community about an hour south of Edmonton. So Photovoice is a qualitative participatory research method that aims for social change through community members capturing images that tell stories around those images. So at the time of our project, I had been working in Maskwacis for a number of years on a separate project, and we had conversations about the troubling perceptions and stereotypes of the community, in large part perpetuated by negative media coverage. So with community members and elders, we decided to pursue a Photovoice project where youth captured images that reflected the strengths and resilience of their communities, and their work was really powerful. We held 7 photo exhibits in Maskwacis and surrounding communities. We had some great media coverage. We printed and distributed hundreds of photo books and created a video to mobilize knowledge about the community's strengths. So those photos are now permanently displayed in a number of areas, including a local hospital, health center, and some libraries in rural Alberta. We know representation is important and that photos and stories can change the way people and communities are perceived. So we were really excited about the knowledge mobilization pieces that were at the heart of this project. Next slide. Another community partnership that's been really important and that I'm really grateful for is with the Tara Center for Teen Parents in Edmonton. That's a partnership that's been ongoing for about 8 years now. So my dissertation work was with Tara, so that's where I evaluated a supportive wraparound housing program being offered for teen parents and their children. We used multiple methods to collect a diverse range of data, including Photovoice data again. So I worked with teen parents to tell their powerful stories. We raised awareness about the stereotypes that teen parents face, as well as the barriers to securing safe, affordable housing. We had incredible uptake of the project by the media, by different agencies, government officials. So that was what the purpose of the project came down to, was facilitating the ability of teen parents and the people who work with them to advocate for increased awareness and ultimately policy change. And I continue to work with Tara on related projects, one of which we're working to better understand how to provide effective mental health supports for this population. Because one of the things we heard from teen parents in our work is that it's difficult, if not impossible, for teen parents to work on things like housing and child development when their mental health is not in check. Next slide. So finally, I just want to briefly touch on the early years program. So this is a project that was initiated and is being led and directed by Indigenous communities throughout Canada, including the Maskwacis community in Alberta and the Martin Family Initiative based in Montreal. So I was really honored to be invited to come on board the project in early 2019 to provide a community-based researcher and Indigenous researcher perspective to understand how the project was working and essentially supplement the incredible work that was already going on. So my role in the project is to lead the research side, particularly the qualitative aspects, but what's been prioritized about the project is the implementation of the program itself. So the program has home visitors working with pregnant women and families with young kids to help families and communities develop a really solid understanding of their children's early development from a cultural standpoint. And another front and center kind of goal of the program is to foster cultural identity. So the project is groundbreaking in bringing together health, social services, and education, which we know often operate in silos. And ultimately, the project is aiming to launch the potential that every child is born with, but that Indigenous children are often not given equitable opportunity to access. So our findings so far indicate that the program is extensively reaching its goals to support healthy pregnancies, enrich children's pride and identity and culture, enhance language development and overall school readiness, strengthen parenting capacity, and has had some unanticipated outcomes, such as significantly increasing children's routine immunization rates. So we look forward to continuing to share outcomes more broadly. And the project has really been key in disrupting long-standing colonial research and evaluation practices and policies that Indigenous communities have actively resisted. Next slide. So just to kind of tie these different projects together, I really can't overstate how fortunate I've been to work with brilliant and compassionate community partners. So I take the position that I'm walking alongside them in a journey to uplift community members' voices and take action toward the change that they want to see, whether that involves advocating for housing services or raising awareness about the inaccuracy of stereotypes, or suggesting models for community-based programming and paths forward for implementation. So what ties all of these different projects together is that they're tied, really grounded in community and relational accountability, that they involve recognition that strengths and wisdom already lie in communities, and that my role is to provide some perspective on how to access those strengths in ways that honor community priorities. Next slide. So just want to reiterate, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope that gives you an idea of some of the community-based work that I'm so fortunate to do. And again, I appreciate the nomination so much, and I look forward to continuing to do this work in a way that results in the shifts that we want to see for child, family, and community well-being. So thank you.
Congratulations, Melissa. That was really amazing. We're going to have you back for a CBR Canada webinar, and the topic would be how to move up the ranks while doing community-based research, because I know that as a challenge that we've talked about quite a bit in this space, and Bernie kind of referred to it in her comments as well. So great job, and we look forward to staying connected with you at CBR Canada. Now it's my privilege and delight to announce the 2022 Community Campus Research Partnership Award recipient, the Maskwacis Maternal Child and Family Wellbeing Partnership. Congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause. You can use the reactions to put up the handshaking as well. It's my great pleasure to welcome Denise Young, research assistant and community member involved with the Elders Mentoring Program, to introduce Richard Oster, Elder Rick Lightning, and basically the Maskwacis Maternal Child and Family Wellbeing Partnership. Over to you, Denise.
Danse, I hope everybody could hear me okay. My voice is still kind of recovering. I was sick a few weeks ago, so hopefully it doesn't give out. But Danse, Gakio Gitdamska Denawao, Denise Young Nitsikason. Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Denise Young. I'm an Ermineskin Cree Nation member, one of the 4 nations that make up Maskwacis. Maskwacis is located in central Alberta, and it's made up of 4 nations. So it's made up of Ermineskin, Louisbourg, Sampson, and Montana. So I'm both a community member and a research assistant with the Maskwacis Maternal Child and Family Wellbeing Research Group. I've had the privilege of being a community advisory committee member and for several years now, and a team member. So I've seen the benefits and the positive change that this group has brought. I've also experienced firsthand as a mother, the support provided by the elders involved. And it's, to say the least, helped me in one of the most difficult times in my own life. So over the span of 10 plus years, this group has done outstanding work in promoting Indigenous healthy family systems. And they do this by supporting autonomy and by having community lead the direction of the research. So all this great work is seen through the Elders Mentoring Program, which serves to mentor expecting mothers, the Deadly Dads Program for fathers and fathers-to-be, and through the Indigenous Healthy Life Trajectories Initiative, which serves to promote and restore the health of Indigenous family systems. So this project is based on Wagotuin, which means kinship, and that we're all related, and it's this sense of community. This community-based research partnership is founded on trust and respect. It focuses on culturally driven initiatives, and it's those initiatives that have made the relationship thrive here between community and researcher. I always believe that Indigenous communities and their people know what is best, and this group allows the community to take lead when it comes to help promoting long-lasting positive change for families. Richard Oster is our lead researcher, and Patrick Lightning is one of our Muslims. They're here today to tell you more about the wonderful work that we do. There are many more team members, community members that I'm not able to mention right now, but their contribution to guide the research doesn't go unnoticed. I could go on saying many great things about the project, but I hope that this serves to give you an idea of how special this work really is to us and my community. Hi, thank you very much. And thank you for this award, because it'll really help provide more initiatives for the community and well-being of families in Maskwacis. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you for that, Denise. And over to you, Richard and Elder Rick, to tell us a little bit more about the project. And congratulations.
All right, thanks. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm calling in from the community, and the internet's a bit unstable where I'm at. So do let me know. I won't speak for too long, and then I'll turn it over to Muslim Rick. But good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Denise, so much for that introduction of our research group. Denise is a community member. She's a research assistant on our group, and truly, I think, is a shining and rising star. I'd first like to congratulate my friend and colleague, Melissa, for winning the Emerging CVR Researcher Award. I don't think anyone could be more well-deserved than her. So my name is Richard Oster. My spiritual and ceremonial name is Wapastim, which means white horse in Cree. I come from European descent, so my family comes from Danish, Scottish, Austrian, German, and Ukrainian ancestry. But since birth, I've called Treaty 6 territory and Métis Region 4 of Alberta my home. So Edmonton is where I live. My family's lived in this part of the world for 4 generations now, and I continue to live here and raise my 2 teenage children here. They're my main job, and my day job is scientific director for the Indigenous Wellness Corps at Alberta Health Services, as well as I hold an adjunct at both the U of A and U of C here in Alberta, where I get to do this amazing work that we're talking about today. So I always like to say I consider myself a transformed researcher, someone that's really incredibly privileged and lucky to have been able to partner with a number of Indigenous communities in Alberta, including Maskwacis, from a community-based research perspective for over 10 years now. I'm no expert. I think of myself as a partner, working together to build from the many strengths that exist within communities like Maskwacis, and ultimately to use those strengths to benefit the well-being of community members. And I'm so thankful and so proud and so honored to be accepting this award today for our research group. You know, personally, this work has enriched me in ways I could never have imagined, and definitely has made me a better human being. And it really just warms my heart to, that the many amazing community members and elders, knowledge keepers, and leaders that have led this important work for 10 years are being recognized in this way today. There's so many people that have been involved, far too many for me to mention. But this award is for them. It's not for me. It's for all of them, past and present people that have been involved. And there are some current partners involved that I must mention, because saying their names matters. So including our current local community research assistants, so Denise Young, who you've met, Tyra Lightning, and Barbara Jackson. Our current elders that inform and our work and that we work with. So Rick Lightning, who's here today, Muriel Lee, Lena Cutknife, Sophie Bruno, Cliff Potts, Margaret Montour, and Maxine Cutarm. Our key community partners, so people like Carmela Cutknife and Randy Littlechild, Danica Dene, Bonnie Graham, and so on. We couldn't have done any of this work without these people. And there's, of course, many academic partners that have been involved too. I'll just name a few that are really close to the work. So Dr. Rhonda Bell, Fernanda Torres, Winnie Chow Horn, Adam Purificati Fune, and many others. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the elders and community members that have been involved in the past that have passed on to the spiritual realm. So Elder Robert Swampy and his wife Wilda Swampy, Elder Mary Cryer, Elder Errol Cryer, Elder Dennis Okimau, and Martina Swampy. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick right away. I just want to say it makes me happy. It makes me smile that our community-derived approach is being highlighted as an example of how to do research in a good way. So rather than focusing on the problems and the deficits, our foundation is quite different. Our foundation is in relationships. It's in trust. It's in ceremony. mutual understanding, humility, and importantly, strengths-based research. And we think from this approach, we believe and we know that anything is possible. And I don't have time to share what our research has accomplished and the strategies that we've implemented in the community to improve well-being, because I want to give ample time for Muslim Rick to share his thoughts. So thank you everybody so much, and over to you, Rick.
Gracias, guapo Maskwacis. Pues como estos Victoria ni Taisino como Maskwacis. Hello world. My name is my Cree name is White Bear. I come from the Buffalo Child family, and I come from the Bear Hills people. Before we were divided into 4 nations, we were under one umbrella, which is the Bear Hills people. That's our history, who we are. And the elders we talk about that work in this program are healthy elders. They live what they talk about. And that's really important in the area that we work with. And we work with young couples, and we work with young men in different capacities. And that's something we promote, is that if you're gonna talk about it, you gotta live that life. You gotta be able to be a healthy person, a healthy elder. Because unfortunately, because of past residential school situations, and there's some unhealthy elders that have been damaged from that time. I'm a 3rd generation residential survivor. I come from there. It took me years to become healthy, to understand the anger that I went through, to be able to get a better grasp on life, to enjoy my 37 grandchildren, and enjoy my 10 great grandchildren, and enjoy my 10 children. And above all, enjoy my wife, because it'll be 40 years we've been together. She's put up with me. If you were to sit back and look at where I came from, you should have ran the other way. Because when you come from residential school, we're all damaged goods. It's a matter of time for us to heal, and some unfortunately don't heal. And that's part of life we live in Maskwacis and other reserves as well. Ermiskin was one of the largest residential schools in Western Canada. So we had residential schools. We also had day scholars that came here. So that's the history of this place that we live in, Maskwacis. One of the things I wanted to mention is that the community-based research, they're creating trust and understanding. This is through this lens, they can look through and develop a relationship, hopefully able to look through our lens once they start to know who we are and start to participate in our ceremonies. We're moving from ritual-based thinking to ceremonial-based, to make it a safe space for all nations, for all people that come into our area, that participate with us, especially researchers. In the past, researchers looked through their lens, they judged us, they misinterpreted many things, and then they wrote that down, and it became real. Today we're in a world where now that we have Denise, who is our shining star. We have many young people that we can bring in, that have the capability and the capacity to be able to do the work that's needed, to have the education background that's able to support our cause, which is life, which is making a better life for our young ones. And so that's something, it's simple. We live with one basic, as men, we teach our young men 2 things. You're here to provide and protect the woman. And our other principle for the woman is that she represents the creator, that she brings life into this earth. Those are the 3 simple things we need to do, but yet, unfortunately, religion and churches and the RCMP and government took that away and said that wasn't good enough. You need to follow our ancestors. Yours doesn't count. Today, interesting enough, the churches are praying in our language, and they're coming asking questions about our ancestors now. Because one thing we need to understand that we're all here by the Creator put us here with a language, with a purpose in life, with a way of life. We've been here for thousands of years, and people are actually finding artifacts that prove that fact. We've said it, but it doesn't count unless a white person says it's true. Then it becomes real. But now, today, that's changing. When we say it now, there people are taking notice because we have letters behind our names, PhD, Masters, B.Ed, all these little letters. My letter is M for Musul. That's my education. I've been here on this earth, it'll be 69 years coming up, pretty quick. But in that 69 years, it's been an amazing journey. When I turned 60, I decided to make memories with my grandchildren. So when I die, they'll have good memories of me. And that's what we teach the young men. That's what we talk about to the young expecting mothers. That we need to teach, going back to the basics of life, of keeping it simple. Telling our young men, you only have two principles you work with: provide and protect the woman. And that's something that we've totally screwed up in the past 20 years. Past 50 years since residential school came into play. And now we're looking at 4-year child welfare survivors, 4th generation child welfare survivors. This is the population that the people are looking at, but the lens they look at is quite different what they see. But when it comes down to really looking at what does that mean, when we ask that uncomfortable question, are we ready for the uncomfortable answer as researchers? Because sometimes HR tells us we have to word our wording in such a way, but HR doesn't understand who the population that you as researchers are dealing with. And that's something that's always interesting, because I work in the Faculty of Medicine and Dentistry as a resident elder. When I first got there, I said, I'm not an elder. I'm not a Mormon. I'm a Muslim. I earned that title. So that's why Muslim Rick is who I am. That means that sacred word of grandfather was given to me by my grandchild. They initiated me when they called me that. And that's something that we need to bring sacredness back into our families. Being the sacred word of dad. Notawi. The sacred word of mom. Nakawi. When that child initiates you, it says mom for the first time. That initiated you to be who you are. When you first time get called Muslim or grandfather, that's your initiation to be a grandfather. But with those initiations comes rights and responsibilities and laws. Traditional laws we have to follow. We have to understand that. And no government, even though government tries to intervene in many things with my people, we still follow those laws. We still follow that sacredness of family. Unfortunately, residential school really messed that up. But the thing is, we're fighting back. We're gaining ourselves back. And we're bringing the sacredness of family back together with the help of Rick and Rhonda Bell and many other people with our research. Our research team has been here for 10 years. And people finally trust us. And so what happens when we talk about relationship, good relationship, you have to live that. Rick brings his family to my house. His children, he comes into my circle. His children are my grandchildren. They call my wife Kokum and they call me Muslim. That's important. That's what good relationship. That's real relationship, not artificial relationship. When you're outside looking in, you have to be inside to look through the lens of the people that you're working with, and hoping to build a better future. But how can you build a better future if you don't know what direction you're looking, unless you're there yourself? And there's a safe way to do that. It's not just go in somewhere and do that. And I understand the different people that work with the streets. I buried a girl that died of HIV, and she phoned me, and her last words was, "Can you bury me, uncle?" And I said, "I will." And she died on a phone. And see, we've had many, many traumas in our lives with suicide, HIV, and with the new epidemic that came through, it created many widows in our communities. And so that's something that's important, that we've lived the traumas, we've seen the hardness, we live with that. But we still look at the sunrise in the morning and say, thank you, God, for another day. And at the end of the night on our life journey, when our feet lift off the floor, many things happen in that day, but we need to understand that. Because the minute your feet touch the floor in the morning, your life journey starts. In that day, many people pass, many people are born, many relationships are developed, and many relationships break. But that's the reality. We try to keep it real so that everyone that comes to our community, they become family. And that's something that's important to understand, that if we're going to be researchers, be ready. It's a lifelong relationship. It's not it's not over when the research grant is done. If you did your job properly and you did it right, that relationship should continue on into as you get old, and as we all get old, because that relationship is continuous. And so that's something I always share with you and leave with you. And that remember that we're all human beings. In the beginning, we were when the Pope made that declaration of doctrine of discovery, saying that we weren't human beings. That was based on that. Today, people are realizing we're human beings, but unfortunately, it's taken a long time. It's still work in progress, because we're still having murdered missing women on the highways and the roads and the communities from outside. We still live with that concept that it's okay to kill an Indian because they're not human. And that's across Canada. But we teach our children that it's gonna get better with the help of people like you across Canada, that we all understand and we become real, and we look at that and we speak out against it. Silence in my language means no. Silence in the outside this reserve means yes. Because even in that language, it's misinterpreted. So thank you, everybody. Melissa, what a good job you did. It's great.
Thank you very, very much, Richard and Elder Rick. Very wise words and good reminders, and so exciting to hear about the research you do that impacts people, impact communities, and your commitment to authentic relationships and to seeing the wholeness of our lives are very, very important.